My name is Arpi, and I came from Evertest. We do general test consultancy, so like test automation, performance test, security testing, and mainly for abroad. And I want to tell you a story about our new service, UX/UI testing, how it was born, and what was the main motivation. This year, January, we lost one of our potential customers from Germany. And of course, I need to look for another one, okay, a new client. Instantly, I had to become a salesman, okay, and try to figure out new demands. And basically, we start a campaign, okay, it was simple surveys. We spot potential customers and ask them what are their primary testing needs. Okay, there was a survey, basically this is, and we asked them that, okay, if you fill this, then we offer you free consultancy. Okay, there was a trade. And the results were shocking. Okay, I was pretty sure that, okay, the test automation will be the most popular. Okay, we found the company 3 years ago, and the test automation is the most popular service. After 114 answers, and these answers come from the multi-companies, startups, many different countries, actually the UX/UI testing had the same popularity than the test automation. Okay, the green is the test automation, the blue is the tip over, okay, it's a kind of performance test, and the red actually the rest of us, so these are the custom ones. But that was shocking, so we need to dive into the deep and investigate a bit how to conduct and how to perform usability tests and how to improve application usability. So I want to share you what are the basic techniques to create usable workflows, okay? If you have a mobile application or web application, whatever. And after that, we will talk about how to test it. Okay, these are very classic techniques. Okay, so if you read blogs or books, then you found actually the same ones. And before we start about UX design, I want to tell you why it's so important. Why is this big demand? So what the usability itself? There was a guy in 1996 at the Stanford University who had a theory. And the theory said that if somebody loves an application, then he will buy it. And the second part is very important. He will buy it, but even for higher price. So even for higher price. So he said that usability is more business sensitive than the functionality itself. So let's imagine two applications with the same functionality set. And if the first one will have better usability, then of course it increased the conversion rate and the revenue income. Actually, the guy was Donald Norman, okay? He was at Stanford University as a teacher. And the first company who adopted his rules was the Apple. So they adopt these rules that the usability is more business sensitive than the functionality itself. So even if you have two applications and the first has smaller functionality subset, but it has better usability, it will produce more revenue. Okay, so this is why it's so important, because of the business factor, Actually, he is. Okay, Donald Norman, and he wrote a very funny book, The Design of Everyday Things. He collects many confusing items and devices. For example, this Otis elevator. So if you want to go up, which button you would push? So this kind of device are misdesigned, okay? So have you ever met that situation where you can open a door after 3 attempts? Okay, you do not decide about push or pull, you need to. So this kind of stuff is not, the root cause is not about that your decision-making ability. The root cause is the usability and the design of the device. I found this quote interesting. It's not unusual that 5 or 10 times is the return on investment in the first year if you push the usability. Tell me another software characteristic which is so sensitive like the usability. So 5 or 10 times. There are tons of research if you try to find in Google, and you will see that, yes, it is very sensitive. Now let's speak about how a usability testing happens, because this extremely different comparing to functional testing or basically any other type of testing. Then first of all, you need to diagnose and understand your target audience. So it's a pure research. That's why you need to use surveys, or we will detail into later what kind of observations you need to do if you want to understand your audience needs. After the diagnosis, you have an assumption, okay, assumption, what kind of problems we have, how this application help the users to solve one particular problem. Of course, we test it, we verify our assumptions, okay? There are some screens which are confusing. There are some workflows which are not clear, okay, vague for the users. And what to do next? We take actions, okay? Try to correct those workflows. We create new screen layouts, new workflow ideas. And the story comes again, okay? We need to verify those screens, those new layouts, and test again, and so on. So basically the whole story is very similar to Lean, okay? Have you ever heard about Lean, okay? Or Lean UX or Lean startups? Yeah, okay, raise your hands. So you have an assumption, okay, like startup has, okay? Have an assumption and you need to validate it. You produce only on MVP, okay, minimum viable product. And please note that these stuff, so when you test your assumptions, doesn't require any implementation. So you don't need to code anything. A new workflow, new screens, a new feature could be tested from usability point of view without any implementation. You can, but you waste your time and money, okay? So this is one of the important things, that if you want to introduce something, it's a usability improvement, you don't need to code. The end of the workflow, okay, because the whole story is periodic, okay? You have idea, create sketches, wireframes, you can test it, okay, how the users understand it, take actions, fixing them, okay, and test your new workflows and screen again. And the end of this workflow, we have basically the basis of the specification, okay? These screens, layouts, and workflow will be the basis of the specification and the implementation. So the whole story is in the beginning. What happened if we want to introduce a new feature? Actually, everything is the same. We have, of course, already some wireframes, screens, workflows. But if you want to introduce a new feature, then you can create only sketches and wireframes and test from usability point of view without any implementation. Okay, so it's very important. Yeah, this is another figure that later also everything needs to be researched. So a new feature, a new application should start with research. What are your user needs? And if you have some designs and layout, you need to test it, and after that, the development and testing and any other story could come, okay? But the cooperation is so strong, so strong. Okay, I want to share with you some principles, okay? There are many UX principles, but I gather some interesting ones. First of all, the user is the boss. So I cannot decide what is important to your target audience. Also, a development team cannot decide what is important for the target users. Only the user knows what is important. So it's need to be researched. Also, your designer don't know, okay? It's very important, researching and testing and observation, how the user behaves, okay? The next one is about the context. Because if we test or conduct interviews, it does matter then which situation is matter for the user. So an application is used, what kind of environment, okay? What kind of situation? These are extremely important. Okay, different context, different environment implies different behavior. Next, the feedback and responsiveness. Who uses Windows? Okay, now you know what the slow response time means. Okay, so the human is a feedback addict. Okay, feedback addict. If you push one button, you want to see or hear something, okay? So give feedback is essential. Even it's a loading bar, even it's an estimation, very important to give feedback and be responsive. It's a part of usability, and please note that the responsiveness is connected with performance testing. The next one, maybe you think that, okay, then UX designers or usability testers just make suggestions about screens and layouts, but actually no. The UX designers are those ones who want to improve usability, design experiences. Also, we design how the user feels when he or she uses a product. Okay, we will cover later, but it's important and interesting that not only screens and designs, rather than we design experiences. The next one is far more general about the minimalism. And we need to keep it simple rule. So it means that the noise information ratio. So basically, if you present something, okay, text, buttons, a user interface, you need to minimize the noise and even the information. Have you ever seen slides like this? Okay, maybe still today we have some ugly slides, but the problem is that in this kind of slides, we have a full of noise and hardly information. So this kind of principle is absolutely far more general. Okay, so regarding the user interface, need to be minimize the content and show only the important information and minimize the noise. For example, in the slide, the word minimalism, in the previous one, is the information, and the blur, shadow, and the page numbering is the noise. So it's not sure that it is necessary. And here we have some more noise, okay? So how does it work? First, we will cover how we can suggest usability improvements, okay, how UX designers work. And after that, we will cover how we could test it. First of all, if you want to understand your target audience needs, then you need to design personas. Persona is an element from your audience, okay, a representative element. For example, he's Joshua, okay. We test for 2 months ago a traveling application, okay. And there are typical user groups, And when you typicize one user from this group, this is the persona modeling. Okay, so look, Joshua, okay, 26 years old, traveled 2-3 times a year. He uses Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and travels with girlfriend, sleeps in cheaper hotels. This kind of information helps to understand the user groups, okay? Try to review his primary needs and help us to imagine the environment and the context when he uses this application. Okay, this is the primary reason why we use personas. If we have different personas, of course, then we design more, because it's not so typical that only one user group is enough. So another figure how we can start it, then we create a sketch or search an image, okay? We give a name, some demographical information, what are his primary pains and needs. This is very important. What is the motivation to use the app, and what kind of problem he wants to solve with the application. And the potential solutions, maybe other applications and so on. And if we have personas, then we create the user journey. Okay. Did you remember when I mentioned about experience? So user journey, when we design the very first time when the user meets the application or website or a product, okay? The very first time, basically, through a Facebook ad or whatever, what he feels, how he will continue his road. This example about another application called Zipcar. Zipcar is a car sharing application. And in the beginning, we want to join to use this car sharing platform. And this emotion map shows the main path of the user on the onboarding experience. So this is the very first time. In the beginning, I'm happy. I want to join a community. I want to try car sharing. But after that, I need to reserve a car. It's a little bit confusing. I need to maybe, I don't know, give credit card data and so on. After that, the very first time, I need to unlock a car. Also, it's confusing. But if I succeed, I will be happy. The user journey identifies the feelings, pain points, and these pain points and feelings should be improved through the user path. And let's talk about a little bit about the designing itself, so the mock-ups and the wireframes, because I experienced that many projects try to draw instantly the final design, the pixel-perfect design. It doesn't require it. In the first level, if you want to create a workflow, you can do only without any color, any picture, any text. You need to draw maybe by hand, and these sketches is only for to see the same workflow within the team. Okay, so you don't need to text, images, nothing, only workflows, okay? How many screens we have, how the users will achieve the experience. And if we agree, then we can create a low fidelity design. Now we have text. Now we have ratios. Still we have no colors and no images. The goal is that low fidelity design should be testable and clickable. Okay, it can be a simple image. Okay, a simple image. You present to the user a simple image. You do like this, a tap, and after that, instantly slide one. This is a fake tap, but it's sufficient. And it is valid for user testing, and believe or not, this low fidelity design can reveal the most of the usability issues. If we found some issues or problems, you need to redesign, okay? This is the workflow, what I mentioned in the beginning, and test again. And if a final low-fidelity design is fixed, then we can finalize the whole design and layouts. Okay? And please note, still, this process doesn't require any implementation. So we save a ton of time and money. Of course, this pixel-perfect design should be tested as well, but hopefully our workflow should be work well. Okay, now let's move to how to test. If we have already an application, or we have some assumptions, mockups, then how to test it. The simplest solution, if we invite some potential users and observe how they contact and how they use an application. Okay, it can be also a web page or any other product, as I mentioned. I always refer a mobile application because this is an area which is primarily affected, this UX stuff. We record the user behavior, sometimes the user emotions, the comments, okay, how they react, what were the main pain points, and it is very, very effective. And you do not have to invite a lot of users. 3, 4, or maybe 5 users will meet the same usability issues. Okay? So the observing is the most efficient technique. Have you ever seen this kind of features called fake doors, or it's also called ghetto test, when you observe or spot instantly a new button or a new feature? For example, I saw sometimes in Gmail or in Facebook about a new feature, and when you click there, they said this feature isn't available because this fake door is for measuring the demand for the functions. Okay. If you need to decide what kind of layouts or designs are more effective, present for the potential customers and users only for 5 seconds. Only for 5 seconds. Your brain decides that this layout is attractive or is it useful for me or not within a few seconds. So if you want to decide, then this is a short, fast, and cheap method. Of course, if you have an application, a web page, or any other stuff, you can gather statistics. The most typical are the heat maps. The heat maps. When the red dots means the most clickable point or the most interesting ones. That's why these big buy now buttons were born. Okay, because those points should be the most effective, and that is increasing the conversion. This is very interesting, the cart sorting. Have you ever met that situation when you want to try one particular menu item in a web page and you didn't try it because it was so complex? This is because the user structure of the information is different than the architect or the developer, how he implemented it. So if you have an information like menu items, draw 2 post-its, okay, post-its, and ask the users, then please structure this information whatever you want, okay? It doesn't matter how, but structure them. And that's why currently now we have less complicated menu items in the web page, because these cart sorting techniques shows that not all menu entries are necessary and not then structure what we see. And finally, the A/B tests, probably you know that. Then if you present your users 2 different approach, then you can measure which is more attractive or more efficient, which is more interesting. Okay, this is one of the most popular one. And why we do this stuff? Okay, improving the experience, design, test it, because we want to increase the conversion rate. the conversion rate. This is a sales funnel. You have visitors, you have some people who wants to buy it, people who will buy it, and people who will refer your product. And you need to increase the bottom of the sales funnel. That's why we do it. And it needs to be measurable, and you can verify that these kind of approaches works or not. And finally, we review what are the main techniques about UX design, how to test it. And I want to say that if you want to verify that it's your product usable or not, then do not hesitate. Invite some users, observe their behaviors, try to introduce a new feature and test them, this new workflow without any implementation, and that approach will be much better than the earlier one.
User is the boss, I understand, but what if you have a
better idea? Better idea, yeah, very nice question. Then you need to test it. So let's create again sketches, wireframes, and verify it. That, is it better or not? Yes, this situation exists when user doesn't know what he wants. But if you have a better suggestions, you need to test as well.
Okay, I think the last one, it has 6 votes. Can we use usability testing in backend? For example, API testing.
Yes, very good question. For 2 months ago, we tested an application with an API, and there is another part of application which is a command line application. And also there was a question that is there any way? Yes, because the API has users too. Maybe those are developers. You can improve the parameters, the documentation, the examples. Okay, so yes, it has no user interface, but you can improve the satisfaction and the usability. Maybe the time is up.
Yeah, I think we should, thanks for the speaker.
Thank you very much. Please vote me in the Slido and write me emails. Do not hesitate. I will be here. Thank you.